You are listening to the Red Roots podcast.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. I felt like the longest intro. I was sitting here for like 10 minutes waiting for the intro to start.
For 10 minutes? Is that?
Well, normally I can hear the music coming out of your earphones. But I couldn't then, so just sitting there awkwardly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you didn't know it was playing? Yeah. So, yeah, here we are. We're here. It played. You guys doing all right?
Yep.
Yes, yep. Mm-hmm. How are you?
You good? I mean, I'm good. It's just, I'm trying, yeah. There's a lot going on in the world today, but we ain't getting into that. Not today.
Yeah.
Maybe another time. So, yeah, what's the topic?
Are we really going to jump right in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, let's do that.
All right. So today we wanted to talk about what to do when you spent resources and time on a goal that didn't produce the fruit you intended. So I'm assuming we've all done that before.
Heck no.
No?
Never.
No. Whatever.
Simon had. Quit and go home. That's what you do. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. It's like our last episode of Just Try It.
Just try it.
Oh man. You. Does this happen to you?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say it's something that I'm mentally processing right now as well as we go on. With the football ministry, this year's just been such a weird year, and then the way that it's all planned out, I mean, the way that you kind of foresee it ending as well is hard to get your head around. It's hard to process. So basically, to explain the situation, because there's no schools at the moment, the kids have got nothing else to do. So kids have been coming to training. So we've got really high numbers. Like in the first group, we have like 50 kids, and in the second group, we have about 30 to 40 kids. So we see between 70, 80 kids each day, which is like triple the numbers of what we got last year, obviously, because those kids were at school.
I think also it's important to explain that here in Bolivia, they separate the days. So some kids go to school in the morning and some kids go in the afternoon.
Most schools have a morning school, and then the evening school will be, if it's a public school, it's usually the same school, morning and evening. They just have two different schedules of classes. If it's a private school, the morning sometimes will be the private school, and then the afternoon will be rented out by another school. Yeah. And so,
Yeah, and so the majority, obviously, nearly all the kids that come to football training go to school in the morning, and then they come to us in the afternoon. So we'd get like 20, 30 kids when schools were on. But obviously, because there haven't been schools, that's where kids have been coming, because there's nothing else for them to do. So we've been able to provide a service for them, exercise, teams, or whatever. It's just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But you get to the point where you realize, okay, this isn't the reality of what it's going to be like next year. So all this work that we're putting in this year is great, but 60, 70% of those kids won't be back next year because they will be in school in the afternoon. So it's hard to like process that, okay, you spent the last 3-4 months, however long it is, building these relationships with these young people, pouring your time, pouring your effort, getting to know them, winning their trust, earning their respect, all that kind of thing. And then at some point it's just going to end. And especially like now that it's switched to rainy season, a lot of the kids just won't come during rainy season if it's raining. So there's a chance that some of the kids that you've spent the last 3-4 months with, I might not see again until I come back in a year's time, because they won't come during rainy season, and then they'll be back at school when the schools start again. And then I'll be back to the UK and then coming back. And so it's just that weird mental process of like, okay, that could be it. The relationship that I've built, the time that you've put in for those last 3 months, that could be it for some of those kids. Because I don't know where they live. Yeah. You can't just turn up to their house and be like, hey, you haven't come to football, or you're at school now, so I just wanted to continue this. You can't just do that. And so, it's this that weird concept of like, okay, like where do you take this now? Like how much further can you invest in this?
Yeah. And so, that's the hardest part is when you're doing it and you're like,
where's this going? How's this ending well?
Because sometimes you don't even get to do it. But and I would argue that it feels even worse when you're doing it and it doesn't Like, because exactly what you're thinking is, I'm gonna go, but like like where exactly like you said, where's this going? What is the out? Like, what is this all for naught? And obviously, I mean, something will come of it at some, but it maybe not the goal of the program and stuff. And then too, it holds the program back too, because the kids who are going to be there next year, you guys do afternoons, right? Yeah. So the kids who are going to be there won't. I mean, they're held back because there's 60 million other kids there, so you can't get like repetitions and even but like I think your perspective is more relationship building. Yeah. I think like the other guy's perspective is just more like kind of whatever happens. Like, you know what I mean? Whoever comes. And so I think I know you're seeing it from a different perspective than him. And so you're seeing, you're more, not pained. Like, 'cause it's not like you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many, like, but equally, like, I think it bothers you more because of the relational aspect and not being able to, and you know what I mean? And so, yeah.
Because it is that, it's how you worded it in the question, like what's the fruit of this? And, I'm always driven and work towards goals and have aims and expectations for the ministries that I'm involved in, and then it's kind of like, for some of these kids, the fruit will just be when they see me in the city, they'll say hi, and it's kind of like, man, 4 months, and like that's what you can get to with some of these kids. And it's just, some of these kids, it won't be that low. Some of them, it'll be much higher, because it's some of them I have been able to build deeper relationships with, have been able to support in other ways, and would like to think that somehow that would continue. I don't know what that looks like, whether it means trying to find a way where I can get more involved in the school, and open doors that way. Because if you already know a large percentage, because a lot of them go to the same school, so if you already know a large number of the students, then, and we've been to that school before, then maybe there are doorways there to explore in the future. But yeah, it is that mental process of being like, okay, 4 months of work and my fruit is they say hi whenever they see me in the city. So it's like,
Now, do you guys feel that when we do come across a project or goal that doesn't end well, and I say well because we didn't reach the goals we intended to reach, or produce the fruit we wanted to, do you feel a certain responsibility to explain that to your supporters, or do you just say, okay, let's put an end to this and reorganize, re-strategize, and then announce the newer project, or I don't know?
I think if you raise money and stuff for it, then I say like it didn't work out, or it's not time yet, or whatever. Which is a tough thing to do. I mean, pride is always involved, and and it's pride is always a bad thing. But it's not like you'd have to be an egomaniac for that to bother you. You know what I mean? Like even if your like intentions are, it still hurts. Like, because you at the end of everything, I think what we want to be to supporters and to everybody, but specifically to supporters, is trustworthy. We want them to be able to trust us and to want to pour into our ministry and to want to be, And so, I think if you raise money for a project and don't do it, you kind of feel like, maybe some people feel like this, but the majority probably don't really feel like this, but you feel like your credibility level has gone way down with a lot of people. But equally, you have a decision to make in that moment of like, okay, let's just say, for example, your credibility level has gone down because you didn't do what you were trying to do or whatever. If you don't expose that or confront that or confess that or whatever, it's not even a sin. It's just that explaining what didn't work out to your partners. If you have a partner in business and we're supposed to be doing something, we don't do it, you talk to them in that way. And this isn't a business, but equally partners, you know what I mean? Especially in particular projects or whatever. But if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, and people have sewn into that, I think, you have to tell them that. That's one of the choices you have, because it's either that choice or don't tell them and be secretive about it. And now you really have lost credibility. Like, even if you hadn't before. And so, you have to communicate with people. But I think cultivating relationships with your supporters goes a long way as well, to where they're in touch, and so they understand. Like, I talk to some of our supporters are like my closest friends now. When they first started supporting, it wasn't that we weren't friends, we just weren't that close. But over the years, we've gotten really close, and I share with them pretty much everything that's going on, good, bad, and ugly, prayer, whatever. And that's super helpful because they know my heart at the end of the day. So it's not like this guy that I met one time that came to my church, I'm giving money to his ministry, and now he's not doing what he said he was going to do. And so it's kind of like, do I want to keep doing this? Yeah. But if it's people that you've cultivated friendships with, and they know you, man, like you spent time with them, and or maybe not even a ton physically, but just spending time talking to them and stuff like that, and building a friendship, they know your heart, and they know where you come from, and they know your weaknesses and struggles as well. And so it's a lot easier for them to, like, see where you're coming from or whatever, or determine that. And so, I think it's definitely necessary to share with people that. But I think there's a lot of pieces that can make it better or easier, and definitely make yourself more trustworthy. Or again, when they know, they can just understand. It's like you can say that, hey, we're gonna do a festival here and whatever in December, whatever. Can you help us with $100 whatever? But then, like, if you say like it's rainy season or whatever, like people, but you've like shared and you talk to people about like how muddy it gets. I don't know, whatever. I'm making something up in the moment, so may not make perfect sense. But like, and then you're like, oh, we couldn't do it because of the rain. If a person doesn't have context, they're gonna be like, okay, just do it next weekend. Because we don't technically have rainy season in the States.
Or just take it indoors or something.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. But so that's why we do content. That's why we do videos until my phone camera started messing up. It's just content. Content is really exposing like everything that we kind of giving people a mental picture and idea of the way things do work and don't work here as compared to or contrast with the way they work in the United States for us. And obviously for you, it would be England and stuff. And so for me, that's why the social media stuff is important. Because, I build relationships with a lot of as many supporters as I can, not because they support, because they're good people. And we met through or we connected deeper through partnering. But obviously you can't do that with everybody. And some people that you don't know or whatever. So you're just exposing everything and just kind of introducing them to where we live, what it's like, what we're doing, and what it's like to try to do stuff. Like we were doing the church remodel thing. And one of my friends wrote me and was like, man, I didn't realize how hard it was to get one thing, like just because one day we went out to buy stuff and we were on a video or something, and like we spent all morning out trying to find, like, it's something so simple, something you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart or whatever and get just like literally 10 minutes. And here it took us, hours, and you had to go to another place to get the other part and whatever. And he was like, man, I didn't realize how hard it was to accomplish something so simple. And so it's not like feel sorry for us, but just giving an understanding of the context and perspective. Because had we raised money to do the church thing, people would be like, oh, you finished the church yet? You ain't been working? Like, and I don't think they're being like mean by doing that, but equally, they gave the money to do it, so they want to see it done. But they don't understand that, we got to go to Santa Cruz to get, you know what I mean? Like, and like, so now we got to fly somewhere or take a, 15-hour bus ride. And if it rains, it may be a 40-hour bus ride, or whatever. And like, no, like people don't understand that, and they won't understand that. So it's your job to present that to them, even before the moment of saying like, oh, this didn't work out because such and such, which is great. You owe them that, but it's much better if you have this backdrop and connection with the people where they understand like where you work, things at the very least, that they can understand prior that things here don't work like they work there. Yeah.
Yeah. Or have to, or like they would ask like, well, why are you fixing the toilet and building the stage and painting the walls?
Yeah, why are you learning to work with cement? Are you just like that? You know what I mean?
Why don't you hire, here, we have money for you. Why don't you hire someone? Yeah. It's just not that easy.
Yeah, it's not simple. Like nothing is simple. And I'm not making excuses, because there are times when things just don't work out. It is what it is. Yeah. But
no, I think it's important to take a position of we didn't fail. We tried something and it didn't work out the way we intended it. Yeah. Because I guess if you look at the definition of it, you failed. But not, I don't want you to take on I want people to not to take on that identity, like, man, that weight of, man, this failed, and I feel bad because people supported us because I spent all year trying to build something that just didn't build.
Yeah. And sometimes we do. It is what it is. Sometimes we fail. Like, it just is what it is. But people understand, because people fail too. You know what I mean? And so it's like, But the thing is like, I don't know, just first learn from your failures, but then two, equally like, man, think before you launch into a project. Make sure it's something that you want to do and that you want to be committed to.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've seen that too, it's like people, and I guess that's in general. People will come on the mission field or whatever and then get and realize like, oh, I don't really want to do this. Like 3 months in. Like, and that's fair and that's fine. But then it's hard to like just go back home because all these people, so you get trapped.
Yeah. I remember, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you get trapped, but then you continue on for 18 more months or whatever, and it's just miserable for you, miserable for everyone who knows you, and whatever, and it turns into a mess.
Yeah, it's true. Now, I remember a time in our lives where I felt extreme guilt. We had just left Bolivia, and we knew, we were preparing
to Bolivia?
We just left from Bolivia to the United States, and we were like trying to figure out where our next steps would be. And Ramon was like, man, an option would be Panama. And I had...
Oh, yeah, nobody knows about that. Nobody knows about the Panama option.
He did his research, and talked to me all about the diversity, the needs, the cost of living, all of that. And I had presented the Dominican Republic because I had been doing research on child trafficking and sex trafficking in that industry and where the hotspots were. And he did say Panama. Did you say Panama was one of them, right?
I can't remember now.
But the Dominican Republic was definitely one of them. And so I felt, like, man, this is a good option. And so we had to, as a married couple, come to an agreement on, like, where are we going to go, And I don't know how we did end up, deciding on the Dominican Republic. Go ahead.
Like, so I really wanted to go to Panama.
Yeah.
Like, I never even said this, like, to you. So I'm talking about, yeah, like, I was really set on, but like, honestly, just like prayed about it and stuff. And like, was like, I don't know. I was like, oh, I don't know, through prayer and stuff. And it wasn't like I had we talked about this the other day. It wasn't like I had this like angel wake me up in the middle of the night. But I just was like, man, I feel like that's where we were supposed to go. And so.
And I just, and you were saying, like, if you're going to start on something, make sure you really plan on it and don't just jump into a project. And this is a time where I feel like we really planned on it. We did our research on cost of living and everything, like even down to the items we needed, beds and all of that. And Ramon had agreed that, okay, we'll go to the Dominican Republic and it's going to be for this work that I felt so passionately about. And I mean, fast forward, we move there. Fast forward a year later, we leave there, and I carried this huge guilt that this year, all of these expenses and the time that we missed with family because his brother was sick, I just thought, man, I really missed it. And I was able to somehow, convince my husband that this was a great idea, and our supporters gave money towards our move, towards our build up there, and towards projects there, and towards raising funds for a car there. And I just, I felt like a failure. I felt very embarrassed, and I didn't want to tell anyone why that didn't work out. And then at the end of it, it was a lot of different things, but I walked away regretting even. I mean, I can't say that I regret the things the Lord did in us, in me, and through relationships there, because those have all and continue to be a blessing to me. We have some good friends there that are still part of our lives, but yeah, that was a hard fail for me.
But you didn't convince me to go. Like that
I know I wasn't. I can never convince you to do something you don't want to do. I know that, but
yeah, well, yeah.
But I'm just saying, I presented the option, and it brought it into your thought process.
Yeah, because I wasn't like I was in Panama, because in my head, like I can go there now because it's all done and over, and I'm happy in Trinidad, Bolivia. But like the places that I wanted to go was Panama or Cuba, and even like before I even got into deep like thought and like deep prayer about it and like seeking whatever. It was like Cuba, like Cuba's Cuba, man, and I had 2 little girls, and like, you know what I mean? I don't know. And so that was like a thing, and I I kind of just from the beginning, like I started drawing more to Panama, even though like I've always like loved Cuba. I've always wanted to go to Cuba, and like if I was in your shoes, like single, don't have a wife and kids, I would have probably been in Cuba and never. I don't know. It's just weird how things work out or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, we went to the DR and it didn't work out at the end of the day. And like for me, that is what it was. And so all the conversations I had with people, I mean, it is what it is, man. Like I can't, you know what I mean? There's nothing I can. So like I guess I would have it is embarrassing, I guess, but I just didn't. It is what it is. Like there's no need for me to be secretive about it. Like you know, there's nothing like.
I think so much was going on in our lives that I didn't process actually how I felt about leaving there until a little bit later on, maybe like a year later or so, because I had just convinced myself that there was just time to leave there, you know, but I didn't know why. And so we knew that there were legal reasons why we felt we needed to leave, legal reasons that other missionaries don't feel is a big reason to leave, but we did feel that it wasn't right for us, but there were other underlying reasons too. It
was like, you know, when my brother passed away, like we had a conversation. I don't know if you remember that, but it was like and you know, when people you lose people, you think about life a lot in your own life and stuff, and you kind of reflect on that. And so I remember saying to Melinda, like, let's just have a serious conversation about our lives and like, what are we doing? What is this? You know? And it was just like, it was a pretty straightforward conversation. It didn't tarry much. Like, you know, it just kind of went, I mean, it's very simple, actually. It's like, okay, what are we doing? And it was like, we presented the facts kind of to one another. Like, okay, because we had lived in Bolivia before, and like, you cannot live here without a visa. Like, that's just not happening and stuff. I mean, you can't. It's super illegal and whatever, and so that's kind of our thing that we have. But then, you know, it's
officially illegal anywhere in the world to live somewhere.
But I'm not trying to get into that conversation. But yeah, because that leads to anyways. Maybe, but anyways, no, like, but you know, so in the DR we had these tourist visas, and that's what we had to get in. You pay $10 and you're just in, like, and we just did, man. We didn't feel comfortable. And so we tried to get missionary visas, and they were like, oh, we don't do missionary visa or something. I can't remember what it was, but they didn't do that anymore. And so it was like, and we tried for some different stuff, and they were like, well, you got to be a citizen. That's the pathway and whatever.
Or landowner. So then we would have just had to like raise a bunch of money to purchase land so we can become landowners or business owners.
Yeah, and we just weren't cool with like the process of that. And so like that kind of led to like, okay, well, what are we doing here? Are we going to be citizens or no? Because, again, we weren't talking about anybody else, but for us, we did not want to live in a place without a visa, especially when we live in a country where one of the big complaints about immigration of people from other countries coming is that they live here without a visa or on expired visas. Because that's what people don't realize about the United States is people coming here illegally. Well, most people, the vast majority of people that are illegally in the United States right now didn't come sneaking across the border. They came on a visa, and their visa expired, and they overstayed. Yeah. And so, for me, I just felt like coming from a country and a group, it's the Christian group mostly who pushes that, which is another topic for another day. But I felt it was deeply, deeply hypocritical for me to live here and somewhat supremacist for me to live here in this country and think it's okay to live without a visa, but yet go back and I don't complain about like that because it's not my. I've said this before on here, but it's not my job to kick people out of the country or bring them in. That's not my job. It's my job to serve people and love people. But equally, I don't know. It wasn't okay. Anyways, there was an integrity issue for us. We can just say that. Yeah. And so we decided to leave. And so yeah, it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. And we had people backing us and behind us and like. Yeah. And I'm saying it like they stopped backing. That's not true at all. Like people continue to back us. Yeah. I mean, some people like kind of, but that happens anyway. Stuff happens, life situations or whatever. But I don't know. It was a time of like we just felt like we failed. And again, too, like on top of all the other stuff we were going through, like with my brother being sick, and it was just a lot of confusion during that time or whatever. And so, but yeah, so that felt like that. Then there was, for me, there's another one. It's when we were going to do the school ministry. So you're here and you've seen school ministry, like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, that's awesome. But you didn't see years ago when we lived in
I
Cochabamba.
forgot about
yeah.
that. We raised money for the sound system
Yes,
and everything.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I felt terrible. So like we've been trying to do school program for a long time, and we tried to do it in Cochabamba, and it didn't work out at the end of the day. Like I can't even tell you why. Like it didn't happen, and then it got to the point to it wasn't going to happen, and so it was like, oh, but we had this plan, and we sat down, we raised money for that sound system that's in there. That we use it now, and like a church donated that and sent it down. There was a team coming down, so that was like awesome, and then. Like the turntables that are in there, that was part of the thing or whatever, and so that got donated. There's several things that got donated. Someone sent a laptop to be able to use with that stuff, and so anyways, so we had all the stuff, and then it just didn't work. Like the school wasn't even trying to have the conversation anymore. Like. So now, you know what I mean? It's like so what do we do? But I wrote the people who sent the stuff. And like, again, everybody was so cool. Like, oh, no problem. Thanks for being honest. The guy, the pastor of the church was one of my friends, Josh, that donated the sound system. He was like, man, I know you guys will use it for something. And I did for a while. Like, I was like, man, I want to show them we're using it. And so anytime like we were using it, like I was like taking pictures, like,
100 pictures later.
And it's not. I don't know if I felt guilty. Maybe I've seen a lot of people do sneaky stuff enough to where I wanted them to know that I'm not being slimy and sneaky. And they never thought that ever. Not for one moment did they think that. But I just felt kind of.
Other responsibilities to make sure they didn't see it that way. Yeah,
and then when we did school, we started on school. Was it a year? I guess you've been here for less than 2 years. So it was a year ago. Yeah, almost a year ago, right? Yeah, a year ago. Was it January? When did we go?
Started this year.
Yeah, what was this year?
No, that's
early
when
March.
we started going to. It was the end of last year because you did it for the promoción.
Start of this year was Reyes.
Okay, that's right. It was a year ago from right now. Is when it started here.
Yeah.
And then that's right. That was this year in 2020 we went to Reyes.
Yeah.
That feels like 2-3 years ago.
March.
Obviously, but he's only been here for a year and a half or a year and 3/4.
Yeah.
So it had to have been. That's crazy. So that was this year. We went right before the pandemic.
Yeah, because we were walking down the streets of Reyes talking about what might happen if a pandemic hit, but not really thinking that.
Were we really?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Because it was like just starting to like break out in China and things, and so we were like following it along with that, and be like, man, I wonder what's going to happen with this. Little did we know.
Crazy.
Little did we know.
That's so crazy. Like anyways, so that was us doing the school program. We tried to start that 4 years prior, and it didn't work. So we had this stuff to do it. So again, the doors finally opened, and boy, did they open, right? Like they opened even wider than they would have initially, but we didn't know that was going to happen. So, for not all that time, but like for a while, like, just like with that kind of guilt of, like, oh, this didn't work. But that's the thing is this is going to happen. Is you're going to make plans and stuff is not going to work out. Like it's going to happen, unfortunately. There's going to be things that you felt like God put on your heart, which in this case he did.
Yeah.
But the timing wasn't lined up, right? And that's we had this conversation yesterday. Like we're reading a book together and whatever with me, Simon, and Rudy, and we've been kind of talking about this stuff and whatever. But everything's not going to work out the way you want it to work out. I'll say it that way. And you may hear or clearly from God, or he may put it on your heart in a certain way, and be sure, obviously, but equally, don't let it destroy you if it doesn't work out, because that's just part of anything. You're gonna have moments where you fail, where you have a friend who says, you have wins and you have lessons, so you either win or you learn, and that's really kind of the approach I think to take. It's like some stuff doesn't work out, even with our church stuff, we're doing you can't convince me it's not going to work out because we're consistent and we're just not going to give up. But equally, anything can happen, or the community center stuff. Like we want it to happen, but there's always some type of chance that something happens and it does. That's just part of it. And so it's like you want to be cautious and, like you said, do your research and be wise and stuff and take the steps that you feel like God is leading you to take, which is a big part. Is be prayerful about the whole thing. Always be prayerful and that, but. It might not work out, but be transparent. Always be transparent.
Yeah.
Be honest.
It's a good practice.
Be whatever, because even if some people do drop you for this thing, which I don't think they will, but even if they did for the failure or lack of whatever, they're definitely going to, and they should drop you if you're being secretive and dishonest about things. Yeah, and so I mean, I think your only real option is to be not just not lying. That's not the goal. Is to not lie.
Yeah.
The goal is not to not lie. The goal is to be honest and transparent. And honesty and transparency are different things. Honesty tells the truth. Transparency leaves yourself wide open so everybody can see that what you're saying. There's no secrets and stuff. And so I don't know. I think that would be my suggestion for it all, for someone who has gone through it several times. Like major projects, like the DR was a whole project within, and then, we had to leave. And so there's that. And then on a smaller-ish scale, but still, it's not something little, the school program, that was a big deal. And so, yeah, I think for me, that would be my advice. To be honest and transparent about the whole thing all the time.
Yeah, I think also,
beginning to end.
like, one of the things that I was afraid of during I guess any of those things you mentioned was the drop of support. Like, man, they're not going to continue supporting us. But to realize that some people support projects. And so if we start a basketball program and then a year from now we close or don't do the basketball program, we should expect the person who started supporting us for basketball reasons to say, hey, I reevaluated. You're not doing what I want my money to go towards. Just want to let you know that we're going to, stop support as of this month or whatever. Like, it should be expected, But we're thankful that we have supporters that say, hey, we're going to support you because we love you and we believe the work God is doing through you. So whatever you want to do, basketball, baseball, football, whatever, we're going to support you, So, and I think having both of those supporters are necessary.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like how, I don't know, and like it feels cliche to say, I guess, but God like really is, our provider. Like he really he just really is like it. And it's not in a lazy way, but like, man, if it's something that God has really like kind of ordained to happen in your life, then it will happen. Again, it doesn't mean don't work hard, don't work towards it. Like, absolutely, because God uses your hard work sometimes as but like he really is a provider. Like he makes stuff happen. Like right now, we are in the process of buying a piece of property. Yay. Everybody happy? Simon just nods his head on the podcast.
Why'd your daughter ask me yesterday, how much does that property cost?
Nosy.
I said, mind your business.
Yeah, 'cause she's nosy.
Just pray.
Yeah. So we'll talk about this here, I guess. There's not much to talk about. It's just news more than anything. So yeah, we're buying a piece of property. Obviously, one thing that we talk about a lot on this podcast, and just in everything that we do, a word that you hear us use a lot is community. And so that's just at the center of what we do. Really, all three of us, all of us, even beyond this room, of the people that are here. I mean, that's just what it is for us. It's community in Christ. And but equally, the implications that community in Christ has for the community at large, for secular community or society, whatever you want to call it. So this is essentially us buying this piece of property. It's right behind our house. It's literally our backyard, which makes it feel weird that I have to pay for it because it felt like it was ours all along. You know what I mean? But yeah, so we're in the process of buying it now, and that's the first step towards community projects. And so we have a lot of stuff that we want to do. As again, you've heard on here, we want to do small businesses to provide jobs and to be able to pour back into the community and stuff. Our church needs some different buildings and stuff. We want to have an actual community center. We would like to have a refuge house for abused women and stuff like. So we have we want a community garden. There's a lot of stuff that we want to do, and so we don't know what's going to go on that property yet. But this is the first step towards building for the future, toward taking that step towards building the community center. Right on the podcast where we're talking about failed projects.
Yeah. Can I just say how excited I am because I thought we were so far away from being able to do this. When you look at our bank account.
Yeah, well, that's where I was gonna go. And so, like, we've been. This is our podcast, so we can talk about what we want, right?
Yes.
So it seemed, because this is something we've been kind of talking about. Like, and Simon, I mean, pretty much ever since you got here, it'd be nice to own that property back there. Because there are 3 lots right behind our house, and there's 2 right next to our house. So, and actually there's a house on the other side of those, on the next to those 3 lots that's for sale, and it has 3 lots on it. So honestly, it would be great to be able to buy all that. But the first step for us is the one behind our house, and it costs $10,500. So it's like, oh man, you know. But a couple years ago, we had a church give us like it was like $1,400 or something like that towards a future, and they, you know, it's like the grandma move. I know it's not much, but like, dude, you gave me $1,000, so like towards a future project. So we just held on to that. I mean, this is 4 years ago when they gave it. So we kind of held on to that. We've saved up some of our money. I mean, pretty much all of our money. Like, we've saved up on our own, and then so that put us to around like I might mess it up, like 5,000. No, it put us up to like $6,000 or something like that, somewhere around there. It put us up to around that number, and then that we had towards the property. So we still needed like 4,500 or somewhere. It's something like that, 4,000, 5,000, something. Anyways, haven't even started raising. I'm gonna go make a video for that right after we do this and get that all worked out and upload it and stuff. We're gonna send a newsletter, all that stuff. Hadn't done that yet. A friend sent us $3,500 towards that project, and we hadn't even really, he just asked me, what do we have going on? And I was like, oh, we're just talking. Like, he's a childhood friend, like lived across the street, known the guy since I was like 5, you know, and so just, he's a pastor now, and like, just, hey, we're just chit-chatting and whatever. And so he was like, yeah, me and my wife, we felt led to send you guys some money or something. And it was just a lot. He made a joke about it. Anyways, we got the $3,500, and we haven't even started fundraising yet. So now I think we need, like, I should get these numbers solid before I do a video. Like a 5, no, 2.
Like your last video when you had to put the meme of like the guy doing like this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that probably happened today. But yeah, and so now, like, to buy this $10,500 property, we need $1,500. Is basically what it is. $1,500 is what we need to raise. So we started off literally from thinking we didn't have any money to buy it, because there's some other projects we're going to do in the future, like with media stuff and whatever. We need new cameras, and there's a bunch of stuff. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, what do we do? Because you can't do. And so anyways, like, God has provided and made a way for us to get this first piece of property, and to me, it's miraculous.
It is. I think about the different parts that had to work together. First, the landowner said that she would be selling it but wouldn't take payments. Like, it had to be all in one. And then she called us asking for a loan. And I was like, wait a minute. We need to work something out here. And so it's like, come on, Ramon and I were like, hey, come on over. Let's discuss.
Hey, do you want some coffee? You thirsty? You seem parched.
You need us.
Water,
we need you. Room
temperature with lemon. Jalen, go climb that tree and get a lemon down for the poor lady. $500 off.
Right.
Like, so yeah, I mean, it just worked out though, you know, like it really worked out. We know her,
yes.
We know her pretty well. She knows us pretty well. And she expressed to us like that, you know, she doesn't trust anyone else to buy it as much as it was just a good thing. And so, I don't know, we just, you know, like, this is something that I've been praying about for a long time. And honestly, I can say this now because it's happening. And we talk about this all the time, about how we read these stories all the time. We read all these community stories books, and we're reading a book now where these miraculously property acquisitions and stuff happen. And it's frustrating because we always, like, borderline kind of complain to each other, like, it doesn't happen to us, and
like,
it's never going to happen.
Bought all this whole hospital for $15, and it's like,
exactly. And while we're not getting, but it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, there's something happened that could not have happened otherwise. That's my point.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay, so stuff does happen. And it is like, dude, we've been kind of moving our feet a little bit. And I'm not saying it's because of our work, but we're cooperating with apparently what the plan of God was. So it's been exciting from that part to kind of get that going and stuff. And yeah. So step one. Almost there. So if you want to help out with that, you can go to redroots.org.
How much more do we need?
It's like $1,500.
$1,500.
$1,500.
$100 or something.
I'm not gonna say it. Anyways, yeah. I'll skip over yeah. We know somebody that used to say that. 100, 100, 200, 300. How you get that?
And how do you say "hundred" so many times in a conversation? I just remember sitting there during our meeting, like, how many times are you gonna say it? Like, I have to not laugh this many times.
Yeah, great guy, man.
Yes.
He's just like clown on money. Anyways, so yeah, no, God is providing and doing things. So I'm excited, man. We're moving that. We got a lot of stuff going on with that, and we got to kind of figure out what's. Honestly, the first thing we'll probably do is probably put some plants and stuff on it, and just because it's there. And we use it as like gardening property or whatever for now.
The first thing we'll probably do is have to find tools to cut that stuff down. Find tools.
We have machetes in the back.
But I mean like the weed
What
eater.
is that?
The weed eater. That's
right. Yeah, so we'll probably have to buy
there
some
are actual
stuff.
trees started growing on the property from it just not being taken care of.
Yeah, we can pay somebody to come and chop it. Something. Yeah, we get it figured out. And then, we probably want to put some fence around it or something, keep horses and cows out. And then kind of, I want to buy the two pieces next to it as well. They're $12,000 a piece. The other ones are too expensive. It's not too expensive for God, I know that, but they're too, like, I don't even want to. It's just absurd what she's asking. So anyways, $10,000 for this one. We got $1,500 left. Then the next two, I guess, will be $12,000 projects each one. Never ending. And that's just the property. Then at that point, some point, we got to think towards building, right?
Yeah.
And all that. So yeah, that's where we are. God provides, and it is cool to see that when you do have these projects and stuff, and like you kind of get that affirmation or confirmation, both, I guess. Okay, yeah, this is the right thing. This is what we've been dreaming. I mean, like, how many times after lunch have we walked out back of my house and been like, had the same exact conversation, like over and over, like, yeah, it'd be great if we had that. And like, you know what I mean? Just kind of, and like every time, it's like the first time we have the conversation.
And sometimes you feel like, man, this is pointless. Maybe we're just dreaming it'll never happen. But then when you start to see those little steps take place, it's exciting. It excites you like, well, yeah, like you said, now we got to start thinking about what the next step is because this was just all a dream at first.
Yeah. Not a dream anymore. So, yeah, that's where we are. You excited about that or you just not, you don't care? How does it make, like, because, I mean, you're part of this, you know what I mean?
I think, like, it's exactly that of it's such, like, you have the dream about it. Yeah. That you kind of don't get too carried away when things start happening because you're like, anything this can
wait, I wasn't ready for this.
Yeah, you got comfortable like, dreaming.
Yeah,
like,
you're kind of like, well, that was for like that was step 5, like
yeah,
or stage 5, or whatever, you know.
I gotta look at it.
We could go back to the Red Roots podcast that we did, probably this time last year or at the start of the year or something.
Absolutely,
and go through like, okay, what was stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And I'm a very like logical thinker. I like my stages. And so when someone jumps straight to stage 5,
doing it wrong.
Well,
how did we get there?
The pandemic mixed up all of our phases and everything.
So much.
And I mean, because the media stuff, this is something we wanted to do. We did the podcast already, but with the other media stuff, it's something we wanted to do. But it was like in the future. Yeah. Then pandemic hit. We were forced to do but we wanted to do. We were pushed into a position where it was helpful to do media stuff, and so that kind of launched us off in that. And so now we're building a podcast studio right in this room right here, right next, but in the room right next to us, and like trying to get lights. That's another thing we're doing. Like we're doing a lot of stuff. I guess a lot of stuff people don't know about. It's really cool. So we're doing church stuff. We're doing the community center stuff. Media stuff is another area we're building up, and then equally at some point back to school ministry stuff too, you know. So it's exciting times, man.
It is.
It's exciting times. I remember questioning like, do I really want to like go back on the mission field after we left the DR, man? And my brother passed away. I was depressed and like just done. Like I just couldn't. And somehow I found myself back in Cochabamba, and like just cool to see how God restored that passion and that excitement, even to better than before, if I'm being honest. You know what I mean? Just more guided, more directed. Read a lot more books, you know, gained a lot more wisdom through that and stuff. And I don't know, I mean, even you being here is like, I think is a sign of God's faithfulness, not to us as individuals. I mean, obviously we always look at God's faithfulness from a selfish perspective, but just in general, God being faithful to Trinidad and faithful to what he's already declared that he wants to do here, right? So we do the book. But like, no, definitely that he's obviously already planned what he wants to do here, and he's not magically, because God doesn't do magic, but he does God stuff. Like miraculously, like, I mean, I think it's really miraculous that we're all here right now. We don't see it as much because we're in the process, so we don't see how big of a deal it was for us to like get back, restore, like mentally and emotionally, to be a place where we can lead and stuff. And then for you to pop up when the people that sent you here were leaving before you even got here, it's just, that doesn't happen. Like, you know. And then,
I definitely recognize it. I remember feeling like our hands were tied when we were in the Dominican Republic, because you can't do much without a team of people, a like-minded team that's working towards the same goal. And every person we knew was already connected to a team, because we had only known missionaries, basically. In our church community, which was, the pastor was a missionary. So, you know, you don't go in trying to take other people's team members to build your team. And so when I often think about you, Simon and Rudy, and it's a team that we have here that is so faithful, and not just like all hands on deck, but also like are passionate and dreaming also.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just them taking on our vision, it's them.
It's their vision.
It's
it's our vision. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's God's vision, right? But like, we're participating in, you know what I mean? Like, he's given us the desires of our heart. You know what I mean? He's given us, like, there's an argument, what does he give? What you desire or your desires? But he gives you your desires, because what your heart desires is not pure and true.
Right.
And so he's changed our desires from selfish ones and American dream desires in our case to what he desires. And so, and then it's again just confirmed every time when Rudy picks up and moves here. Rudy had a life in Cochabamba, like, you know what I mean? And like, he picks up and moves here. He's from here, but there's a lot of context you got to understand about here. And anyways, he moved back here and Simon pops up. And it's just like, oh, God is doing something. And it would be easy to be like, yeah, okay, you know, like, cool, you're here, like, what are we going to do? But it's like now, like, okay, wake up and like, let's collectively steward properly, like, what God has given us and you, and what God has given you and us and this place, and what's God given the church, and you know what I mean? Like, God's given all of us each other. And so how do we, again, community, and so how are we going to steward that for God's glory, is, you know, through multiplication and faithfulness and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's where we are.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I think as well, like one verse that was given to me before I came out here, I can't remember the exact chapter and verse, so don't shoot me for that.
Or the book.
But, no, it's in Thessalonians, I know that much. But it talks about like, give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, and your work won't be in vain. And I think that is what kind of helps like just push me on. And you're like, okay, you know, sometimes if things don't work out how you want them to, but if you give yourself fully to the Lord and that work that you've done, like these 4 months of the football program, I know that somehow that's going to be a useful time. I don't know what that's going to look like. It might not be for all the kids. It might be for one kid. I don't know. But that work will be used and fruit will come from that. And even like the hard times, I think it reignites like your passion for a place. I think you learn very quickly that you don't get that many quick victories in ministry, in working overseas and missions and things like that. And when you feel like you're making progress, like I was working with one kid, I felt like I was building good relationships with him, things were working well. He comes to football one week at football training and he has a swastika tattooed on his hand. And I'm like, do you know what that means? He's like, nope, but my friend said it looked cool. And you're just like...
Depends on who you ask, my guy. Depends on who you ask.
And so you're just like, man, like, you feel like you're knocked back so far, but then equally you're like, okay. And so I start messaging Ramon, being like, hey, do you know anyone that removes tattoos of 13-year-olds? It's like,
He did from 13-year-olds. He specifically said that.
I was like, but you also like, I was just like, and I don't think I can swing this to being like, okay, I'll pay for him to get a tattoo to cover up this tattoo.
Yeah.
He's 13. It's like, I'm not sure how well that one would go down.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you feel like you're making progress and all these little knockbacks come, but I think it is exactly that. Like when your heart is lined up with what you feel God's heart is for this place, I think that's what keeps pushing you on. So even through the knockbacks, even through the hard times, even through the when things don't work out, that's what pushes you on more. Is having that vision, having that, and then again seeing the processes. So seeing like, okay, we're now buying property, like we're now doing this, we're now doing that, and seeing all the small victories, however long they might seem to be taking.
Yeah.
And the beauty too of God is that He allows those situations, like even like in the book of James talks about how trials push us towards endurance, and so it is building this character in us that otherwise cannot be built, this strength and this hope and this endurance to do it for a long time, if not, it's just going to be like, yeah, we'll stop this, and we never complete anything fully.
Yeah. Endurance. That's very true.
Did you know, speaking about endurance, I read a statistic yesterday. Sorry, were we ending this? That was a good
Just
ending,
go ahead.
right?
Go ahead.
Speaking about endurance, and I read a quote yesterday about the average amount of years that missionaries serve on the field. Can you guess?
2?
2? Okay.
5.
5. No, like I would have guessed 4 or 5, right? And they said it was 12 years.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is that's endurance to me. 12 years.
Yeah, that's the average?
That's the average. Yeah, but I'm sorry, let me correct this. American missionaries, North American missionaries.
But that's not the average of people that I know. I guess I know a small section.
Right.
But anyways, yeah.
So they said
cool.
it was
That's cool,
they started recording data in the 70s.
Oh,
up
okay.
until
Well,
now.
that
So
makes
it's not
sense.
like
Well, because some of the years are really high for people. Some people have been doing it for 40 years.
that's true.
So that tips the scales, for the
2 year, 3
Yeah.
year. So, yeah.
That's interesting though.
Yeah, so we'll be coming up on average soon.
Next year? This year?
Next year.
2009? What is this? Oh, this is 11 this year. So, yeah, one more year. Oh, yeah, we're almost in that year. We're in that year.
Yeah.
In our average year. But let's be above average in the
Let's
average
do
year.
it.
That's
Let's
a
do it.
2021 statement. Doesn't rhyme with 21, but
Start
hey.
thinking about a new statement for the new year.
Yeah. All right. Well, need to go record this video. You guys good?
Yeah. Good chat.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. If you want to help out with our project of purchasing property. Nope, that's not what we're doing. With purchasing property, you can go to redroots.org, make a donation there. If not, that's fine. Still listen to our podcast. We appreciate you. We love you. And we won't see you next week. You'll see us next week. So have a great week. Provecho.